Hi there, movie lovers. Today we're diving into The Great Indian Kitchen, a 2021 Malayalam drama that when it was released, it cooked up some conversation. Directed by Gio Baby, this film serves up a powerful narrative about marriage, gender roles, and societal expectations, all simmering in the confines of a traditional household. The premise seems deceptively simple. A newlywed woman, played by Nimisha Sajajan, finds herself struggling to meet the expectations of being the perfect wife to her husband, portrayed by Suraj Veranamolu. But beneath this simple setup lies a pressure cooker of emotions and societal commentary that's bound to leave you with plenty to chew on after the credits roll. What immediately strikes you about The Great Indian Kitchen is its contemplative nature. This isn't a fast-paced, dialogue-heavy drama. Instead, the film communicates volumes through silence and routine. The camera lingers deliberately on mundane household tasks. The endless cycle of cooking, cleaning, and serving. Cooking, cleaning, and serving. These repetitive shots aren't just stylistic choices. They're a visual embodiment of the protagonist's suffocating reality. The kitchen isn't merely a setting. It actually becomes a character in itself, a sort of prison of expectations. Now, while some viewers might find the repetitive nature of these scenes tedious, well, that's precisely the point. The film wants you to feel the monotony, the thankless cycle that defines the protagonist's existence. And I would describe it as brilliantly uncomfortable. The sound experience of this film deserves special mention. Unlike most contemporary films that rely heavily on background scores to guide your emotions, The Great Indian Kitchen opts for a more minimalistic approach. There are only 2 songs in the entire film, I believe, while the rest of the soundscape is composed of the authentic sounds of domestic labor. The clatter of dishes, the sizzle of cooking, the splash of water during cleaning. These aren't just ambient noises, they are the soundtrack of submission. This deliberate choice amplifies the film's realism and makes you feel as though you're a silent observer in this household, witnessing the protagonist's daily struggles firsthand. The performances in this film are nothing short of extraordinary, particularly that one of Nimisha, as the unnamed protagonist, because I don't remember her having a name in the movie. Anyways, her ability to convey complex emotions with minimal dialogue is truly remarkable. You can literally see the frustration, the exhaustion, and eventual rebellion building on in her eyes. Everything throughout the film, remember, very little dialogue. This is the kind of nuanced performance that doesn't need words to punch you in the gut. Suraj also delivers a compelling performance as the husband who is both a product and a perpetuator of patriarchal traditions. What makes this character particularly interesting is that he's not portrayed as a cartoonish villain, but just as someone who simply cannot see beyond the societal norms that he's been raised with. The tension between these 2 characters builds so gradually and naturally that when the climax arrives, it feels both shocking and inevitable. This is truly a masterclass in character development. At its core, The Great Indian Kitchen is about gender roles and the invisible labor of women. The film brilliantly illustrates how patriarchy functions not just through active oppression, but also through passive expectations and traditions. Now, I'm aware that some critics have focused the film on the portrayal of religious practices, claiming it paints certain traditions in a very negative light. However, I feel like this misses the forest for the trees. The issues depicted here transcend any specific religion or culture. They are reflections of patriarchal structures that exist across societies, not only in a specific religion or any specific country. What makes the film particularly powerful is how it shows that both parties suffer under these rigid expectations, the one who submits and the one who expects submissions. There is a subtle commentary on how patriarchy traps everyone, albeit in vastly different ways. Obviously, the women are more affected. Now, fair warning, If you're looking for a fast-paced, action-packed film, you will find The Great Indian Kitchen very challenging. The deliberate pacing and confined setting, as most of the scenes happen in the kitchen, create an almost claustrophobic viewing experience. However, this is precisely what makes the film effective. The slow build-up of tension, frustration, and eventual rebellion mirrors the protagonist's journey. The repetitiveness isn't a flaw, it's a feature that serves the narrative brilliantly. It's been 4 years, but since its release, The Great Indian Kitchen has sparked important conversations about gender roles in domestic settings. What's particularly interesting is how universally relatable the film has proven to be, despite it being set in a specific cultural context. Women from various backgrounds have connected with the protagonist's experiences, recognizing patterns from their own lives or from those of women they know. This universality speaks to the film's success in tapping into a shared experience that transcends cultural boundaries. To close up, The Great Indian Kitchen is not what I would call a fun watch. It is deliberately uncomfortable, challenging, and frustrating. But that's precisely what makes it so powerful. It is a film that uses its medium brilliantly to make you feel the weight of the message. The performances are stellar, there is a clear purpose in the direction, and the social commentary is as relevant as it's necessary. Yes, the pacing might test some viewers' patience, but those who stick with it will be rewarded with a thought-provoking experience that lingers long after the credits roll. My recommendation? Don't miss it. This is the kind of cinema that reminds us of the medium's power to illuminate social realities and spark important conversations. It might not be an easy watch, but I think it's an essential one. That's all for today's review. If you have seen The Great Indian Kitchen, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Did the minimalist approach work for you? Anyways, leave it in the comments. Until next time, happy watching, maybe not with this movie. And remember, sometimes the most powerful stories are told in the quietest ways.